thank you for speaking to us, Secretary General David Lewis Luongo of the National Unity Platform. We are here for an interview, a small interview of what is happening in the country, what is happening within the National Unity Platform. But actually I want to start from the National Unity Platform and its making of 5 years, I think this week.
Yeah.
So what can you report 5 years down the road?
Well, we thank God first of all that we've been able to make 5 years of existence as a national unity platform from the time we announced our presence here as a party. And it has been a bittersweet journey, full of many challenges and very, very many controversies. But it has been worth it. Everything has been worth it because we are still on course. We have defied the naysayers, we have defied those who doubted us, we have defied those who called us a wave, those who called us hooligans, those who dismissed us as a wave. They said people are just following a musician. They've said all sorts of things. But here we are making 5 years as a party. So we are glad we are very glad that we've been able to reach this point. And like I've said, there have been many, many achievements, some that are visible, others that can be felt across the country. When you see General Museveni moving around ghettos, that is an achievement of our president and NUP, because he never even cared about those people, even knew that they existed. But our presence and talking for them, talking for the downtrodden person, has forced him to now call himself man of the ghetto, because unfortunately he doesn't have the right policies for them. He thinks it's just a matter of giving them handouts. But as a party, we've also been able to achieve significant things. You see, we are here at our headquarters, the best and biggest headquarters of any political party in this country. In addition to the many other regional offices that we have out there, we have a school of leadership where we train leaders. We've been able to champion different causes, impact causes. When the Karamojong were dying of hunger, NUP led the drive to fundraise for them. When our people were stuck in Arab countries, NUP led the effort to repatriate them. And in the process also forced the government to do some things in that regard. We've been able to achieve a lot on the parliamentary front, in the local governments and other places. So yeah, we are moving, and we thank God for this journey so far.
So in the 5 years, yeah, those are the achievements. And what stands out as the biggest challenge so far?
Well, before I talk about the biggest challenge, let me tell you what I think the biggest achievement has been: awakening the common person to think about the country. Before our President Robert Kyagulanyi participated in this, came in on the scene, on the political scene, politics was largely regarded as a boardroom affair, as a parliament affair, as an affair for politicians. But right now, everywhere you go on a border stage, in the ghettos, everywhere people are talking about politics and issues that affect them. So that has been the greatest achievement. The biggest challenge, of course, has been state repression. That we operate in an environment where, yes, you are a political party, you're there, but you are not a political party in the true sense of the word. The regime makes it very difficult for you to operate as a political party. So that has been the biggest challenge. While NRM goes around doing its activities, processions, whatever, having elections and all that, NUP cannot do that. So that has been the biggest challenge. You know, up to now we still have 18 missing persons from the last election. We have people who are in prison. We have people who have been maimed. We have people who are dead, who are in the grave, who were killed by the state. We have people who have gone through so many challenges. We have many people who are in exile because of the work that we're trying to do to redeem our country. So that has been the biggest challenge.
Related to that, we see the other day Parliament passing a bill that is limiting political party financing to parties that are caucusing under IPOD. And your party particularly, perhaps this law was targeting you because you are, I think, the only one that is not participating in these activities. First of all, what are your thoughts on that particular now act?
Well, that is not the only law that has been made to target us. From the time we came on the scene, you see you know how many laws have been made to target us and our activities and all that. So the Political Parties Amendment Bill, which is now an act, actually is just one of the many other repressive laws. Even the UPDF amendment about the courts martial and all that, we believe was targeting NUP. And that is why they were talking about dress code and all that. So, of course, it's unfortunate that the Parliament of Uganda can legislate to witch hunt a political party. That the Parliament of Uganda can sit down and legislate to persecute a political party which does not agree with certain things. So that law, first of all, we are going to challenge it. in the courts of law because we think it is unconstitutional. We believe it's unconstitutional. We believe it does not. First of all, that it was done without any consultation of the stakeholders. The political parties were not consulted and all that. They wanted to either twist us into joining IPOD or kicking us out of the funding which other political parties get. Let me explain something about political party funding. Political party funding is in over 100 countries on the planet. It's not an invention of Uganda. No single country among those 100 countries tags political party funding to dialoguing with anybody, be it the regime in power or anything like that. Because this is taxpayers' money. And if you see the Hansard and the backdrop of making that law, it was intended to prevent political parties from getting funds abroad. And the reasoning was that, you know, people should not get money from outside sources, blah, 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 blah. They said, okay, the government should fund political parties. And they even put a threshold. And they said if you are to get money from any single entity, it shouldn't go beyond this amount. So you can see that the law was intended, the initial spirit of the law was to fund political parties so that they don't go out of their way to start looking for money from what the regime called wrong sources. But now they are saying, because NUP has said we are not going to be part of IPOD, they are saying now you must be part of IPOD or lose this money, which we are going to challenge in the courts of law. But the way they have done it is not even a smart way, and that is something we are still studying, because we are part of NCF, the National Consultative Forum. NCF now, we are the vice chair of NCF, the National Consultative Forum. Now, they have brought IPOD and made it a department under NCF, and said that NCF is now divided into two. One is IPOD, which has parties represented in Parliament. Another is a forum for non-represented political parties. So they are literally trying to conscript all political parties to belong either to IPOD or to this forum for non-represented political parties. So we are waiting for the regulations to come out, and we have a look at them, and then we shall guide the nation on the way forward.
But what is fundamentally your problem with dialoguing under IPOD?
Our fundamental disagreement is the way IPOD is structured and the way it has been functioning. I want to remind you that before People Power came on the front, IPOD was just a nascent thing. It was there, docile. Nobody was talking about it. It was after the Arua incident and all that General Museveni said, oh, there is IPOD. And that was the resurrection of IPOD, and bring it into this context in which where they're trying to put it now. So IPOD, the problem with it, first of all, I want to fundamentally state that we are not opposed to dialogue. In fact, that's why we are the National Unity Platform. We want to bring together the people of Uganda. We believe in dialogue at the core. But the question has always been, what kind of dialogue? Who chairs this dialogue, or who convenes this dialogue? What is the dialogue about? So those have been the key questions. We want to participate in dialogue which is genuine, which is transparent, which is inclusive. We don't want it to be a photo moment, just a photo opportunity. And if you want to see the challenge, if you want to, if they tell you today that you take your child to a certain school, one of the things you ask yourself is, how has this school been performing? So IPOD now is making 15 years. Ask yourself, its stated objective is to deepen democracy in Uganda, democratization. Ask yourself, if you had to give it a scorecard or score points, how would you score it? When the country has been degenerating every year that passes, when elections have been going from bad to worse every successive year, when political parties are raided with impunity, when political party supporters are detained and abducted and tortured and killed in whichever context.
But how about, because then there is nowhere you can sit and talk about all these things. Many times we have had interviews, I have had interview with you, and you say these things, but perhaps I have no power to stop that. Perhaps, what is the problem with now sitting with the person who has the direct power of making sure that these don't happen?
First of all, it's not true that there is no organ where we sit. I've told you that we're in NCF, the National Consultative Forum. First of all, one of the problems we had with IPOD was that it was not in the law. It was just an NGO. NCF, on the other hand, is established by law. It actually comes from the Constitution of Uganda. So we have been part of NCF. But even in NCF, we've had, firstly, our late Deputy President, Joel Mugisha, may her soul rest in peace, was our representative in NCF. She was a deputy chairperson. When she passed on, we sent Comrade Katana Benjamin. We have said so many things even in the NCF which are not implemented. NCF has gone out of its way to observe all the by-elections that have been happening. Every by-election they go, they report the use of the military, the use of covered number plates on vehicles, the use of the ballot stuffing and all that. But every election, every by-election, things go from bad to worse, as you've seen. The last by-election was Kawempe, and you saw what they did and what happened there. So that is the first point, that we have a place where we've been sitting, and NCF, of course, has been bringing together all political parties, whether you're in parliament or not. And I'll tell you also that for all the time our representative, the late Joel Mugisha, was in that position, NRM had never nominated someone to go there as chair, meaning that they were not interested even in dialogue under NCF. And they're really not interested in dialogue. But
they are giving you a forum where you can meet them.
Now I'm explaining to you that General Museveni's definition of dialogue is co-optation, instrumentalization. Dictators have always instrumentalized dialogue to achieve their ends, to pursue their goals, to pursue their evil ends. So that's our worry and fear, that we do not want to be in a process which is just instrumentalized. And we have studied the history of IPOD and how it had been turned into a tea drinking opportunity. People come. You remember one of the agenda items under IPOD the last time was POMA. It had to take citizens of this country to go to courts of law to challenge POMA. That is when it was nullified. But IPOD failed. And yet all these other opposition parties were saying, no, POMA is a wrong law. POMA is unconstitutional. Let's remove all these provisions. And it could not be achieved. Again, under IPOD, like I said, if the objective is strengthening democracy, they have been there talking about electoral reforms, talking about what, nothing ever comes to light. So, like I said, right now we are waiting. The way they have crafted the law, they seem to want to conscript all political parties, because, like I said, we've been part of NCF. Now they are saying you are either in IPOD or you are in another forum for unrepresented political parties. So we are going to sit and take a decision on that. But that is where we are now. But whatever happens, we are going to challenge the law.
When you challenge the law in our courts, yesterday I was saying that actually when you look at our civilian courts and the court martial, you can struggle to find a difference, because you have people in prison who have been there for 4 years under the instructions or under the orders of these civilian courts. You think that there is better justice than the military courts. So do you really believe that if the regime wants something to stick, that you will find justice in these courts? Do you still
we know that even when there is an institution that is rotten, you will find some good people in that institution. So yes, for example, you remember the last time when we were coming on the scene, the regime used people to take us to court and all that, but the judge came out and said, these are people looking for money. I don't see merit in this case. Maybe it could have gone the other way around. The same courts we've been saying that at the time we had the 2021 election, we had about 4,000 people in different prisons across the country. Right now we have less than 100 people who are in detention. How have those people come out? Through courts. So yes, we have fundamental problems with the court system, with the justice system in this country. We have a problem with the lengthy periods under which people spend on remand before they are heard. We have very many problems and all that. But we also believe that even in that chaos, even in the midst of all these problems with the judiciary, there are some judges who will stand their ground and decide cases judiciously. That is why we still go there.
If you were not an office of court as a lawyer, would you still argue like that?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I am not arguing like this as an officer of court, as a lawyer. I'm arguing like this as a person who has been through these court processes. In fact, as a person who is part of a political party that has suffered so much oppression, and I see what is going on. Like I said, there are many challenges. For example, right now you see what we are dealing with. Eddie Mutwe and the team are in Masaka. The regime tortured Eddie Mutwe, dumped him there. The judge should not have sent him on remand. The judge should have sent him to hospital for treatment. But the judge sent him to prison. But even then, up to now, they have not, their bail matter has not been heard. And remember, Eddie Mutwe went there after the Achileos had been there for some time. So now they have fixed their case on the 18th of August. So you can imagine all this period which they are spending on under pre-trial detention for no reason whatsoever. We have people like Machete and others who are stuck at Chitalia, where the Supreme Court of this country decided that civilians should not be tried in military courts and ordered that their files be transferred to civilian courts. Up to now, from January, the cases have not been transferred. They are still there. So we have fundamental problems with the court system, but we still go there because we believe that maybe some people...
Would you say that actually doing those things you've mentioned is the exception, not the rule?
Explain that to me.
Like that it is not fundamentally tilted against you, that in the structure of this court, the judicial system in Uganda is not tilted against people in the opposition, that it is only the exception that, you know, you have...
No, because you see the way, first of all, the framers of our constitution, the 1995 constitution, when they put term limits in that constitution, the intention was such that the president does not have so much power. The intention was that any given president will come and go, and then another one comes. Now we have a problem where all judges of all the courts of judicature, from the High Court, Court of Appeal, Constitutional Court, Supreme Court, all of them are appointed by one individual who has previously stated that he was going to start appointing cadre judges. So you can imagine where you're dealing with that. And critical judges, people have been very, very critical of the regime, including Justice Kanyehamba, may his soul rest in peace, who has just passed on. He wrote in his book that he was supposed to get a very good opportunity to be on the African Court of Human and People's Rights. The regime refused to send him there because of his opinions. So that's why I'm telling you that once you are in this kind of environment, now all judges have to be careful because they want promotion, they want opportunities here and there, so they have to be a bit careful. So you find that Museveni does not have to come on knocking every day on the judge's door to say, how are you going to decide cases? But judicial officials,
if you want a promotion,
if you want a promotion, if you want better amenities, if you want opportunities here and there. I mean, we all know what is happening to Justice Esther Chache from the time she decided in our favor in the Supreme Court decision. The woman had to...
for deciding against the
Exactly.
system.
She is in exile. So those are the challenges that happen. It takes bold judicial officials really to do the right thing under these circumstances.
The last on that, I saw the Minister of Justice, who is also actually, who claims to be also in the opposition, saying he's going to do everything under the sun to see that you come on board. How would you respond to him?
Well, like I said, for us, we are looking at the principle. I don't think I'm much interested in what Mao is saying, because Mao is not really the person to listen to when it comes to these matters. You know, when we came out and said that General Museveni believes in cooptation, that statement is actually corroborated by what Mao said previously, that when Museveni appoints you to his cabinet, he drives you like a wheelbarrow. And that is what we see Mao going through. The other day he was being forced to interpret things against himself. You know, Museveni was saying DP is not there without Museveni, and Mao had to interpret that. Mao, when he was joining NRM and signing a cooperation agreement with them, was very clear that, you know, I'm going to talk about transition and all that. Ask him how far he has gone with that. And whoever really doubts our stance on the question of dialogue, the way it is being framed, should look at what has happened to Mao. Because when he went there, he said, oh, I'm going to talk about transition. General Museveni did an interview and said, no, we did not discuss that.
we are days into the next election, I mean months into the next election, and one of the things that is happening now, parties are choosing candidates for themselves. We understand the processes are on in your own party, so can you bring us to speed what is happening, and when are you declaring finally who your candidates are going to be?
Well, I don't know, I don't have the exact schedule yet, but we are discussing it. The election management committee is taking lead. They are making proposals and all that, and they will be making an announcement to the country about all that. But what I can tell you is that the vetting exercise is about to start. We already stated the principle that vetting gives you 40% and the ground survey gives you 60%. So each of the candidates who applied under the NUP should know that they are going to be assessed under those terms. that teams, independent teams will be sent to the ground to assess really how the ground is, who is stronger than the other, and to really get the sentiment of the people in the various electoral areas where these were standing. And the people who are going to be successful will be given the party ticket.
And do you have the manpower? Because it looks like there are so many elective positions that there are. Do you have the manpower to send in each of those places?
We do. We do have the manpower. Yeah, we have the woman and manpower. I don't want to use words that may sound not balanced. But what I'm trying to say is that we have the necessary manpower and the necessary amenities to do this survey in every electoral area where we have a candidate.
One of the biggest issues that has come out in the process through which you are getting candidates is the process itself. One of the things you champion, democracy, people-centered, it's a political people power after all. How are the people involved in this matter?
When we go out there to assess, we don't ask monkeys, we don't ask trees, we don't ask stones, we ask people. We ask people, but there are reasons why we do that, and which we explained. We all know that party primaries would be the most ideal way of selecting candidates of a party. And if it was not for the environment under which we operate, I can tell you we would be having very, very good primaries, not like these ones of NRM where you've seen children lining up, where you've seen people being given sodas to move from one line to another, where you've seen soldiers pulling people from one line to another and all that. We would have very, very good primaries, but the factors are like 3 or 4. The first one is the legal one, our constitution, which we tried to put in party primaries as one of the methods, and even came up with an electoral college to select the different position holders, was not gazetted up to now. So the legal framework would not allow us now to go into that arrangement until we have our constitution finally gazetted, which of course again is the hand of the regime. The regime tried to do that so that they would block us from doing what we wanted to do in that case. The second one is of course the political environment. If we cannot be allowed to do some activities here at our party offices, you've seen every time we announce a big activity, they come and block, beat up people, enter and have a lot of chaos. How are we able to do activities of this nature across the country? You saw what happened during the youth elections. We came out, wrote to the police, wrote to the Electoral Commission and said we want to do nationwide activities for youth. That was before the youth election. We said we want to have an event in each constituency. But I'll tell you that in more than 80% of the constituencies, our events were blocked. Either the DPCs refused to receive these letters, which were coming from, we would write a letter and attach the letter from the police itself. But you go there and the DSO starts, confusing you. Of course, in consultation with the very people here who had issued that letter. And then they disappear. Even those who decided to actually go on and do activities in Jinja, in many parts of the country, you saw the police came in, blocked these events, used tear gas, dispersed people, arrested them and all that. So how does anybody expect us to carry out these events? You see what has been happening with the NRM primaries. They have been manned and managed by the police and the military. Are we able to achieve that? Where the police and the military have been instrumentalized to act in a partisan manner, not because they believe in that, but they are given orders to man the NRM elections across the country.
But how are you going to handle people who are dissatisfied with the result of the election management committee when it chooses who they want to represent?
It's not that they choose whoever they want, and that is why there is even an appeals process. If you are dissatisfied with what the election management committee has done, you appeal to the executive board of the party, which looks into these results and assesses how the ground was done, who did the surveys, who did they reach out to, how much of the constituency did they cover, etc., etc. So that's why we have those levels, that those who are dissatisfied will have an opportunity to make appeals.
There is a feeling among many people that actually particular people, even if they are with 5 people, there is a feeling that particular people are already selected, even when before the cards have not been given.
Well, I've said it time and again, and I think now the NRM primaries have proven that that even if you selected candidates by lining up, and I think it is you who have been telling that all the time, that even if candidates are selected by lining up, there will always be complaints. There will always be feelings of that nature. For us, what we must do is to satisfy ourselves that the process has been fairly done, that the candidates are arrived at represent the true values of the party, people power, and that that they believe in what we believe in as a party and what we stand for. So yes, those who you're saying think that the cards have already been given out, have a right to think like that. But what I can assure you is that nobody has been given a party ticket at this point, except in cases where we have an unopposed person who must of course also be vetted to ensure that they have the qualifications. Because we don't want you to say you are unopposed and then tomorrow we go and present you to the EC and find that you don't have papers, you don't have what. So everybody must be vetted and approved.
Don't you think it would be unthinkable that a man like you, the Secretary General of the party, I don't know, the last time I checked there were some people who you were contesting with, but I had some I'd pulled out. I don't know whether you are now unopposed. Would it be thinkable that a man like yourself, with that high-ranking position in the party, or say the spokesperson of the party in Nakawa West, that he can be denied a ticket?
If it was that way, we wouldn't be looking for ground, my brother. You see me, even in my busy schedule, I get time to go on the ground and engage people. I go to border stages. I go and visit different parishes in Kampala Central because I'm looking for the ground. I don't want any person, because if I knew that I don't need to, do anything, in any case, because of this position, I will automatically get the ticket. I wouldn't be doing all that. In the last election, though, you saw that some people who were very, very close to the party, including the party's organizing secretary, failed to get the ticket of the party. Mr. Chidandala was our organizing secretary. Roy Semboga was the head of institutions. We had people at that level who did not get party tickets because we set rules and went on ground, and the picture on ground was different. When we went to Kawempe North, we found that the ground was abundantly in favor of the late Muhammad Segirinya. When we went to Kawempe South, we found that the ground then was abundantly in favor of Kaziwe Bashir. So, and I think you can base on that. In the last election, one of the president's brothers was running. He did not get the ticket. We had people who were very, very close to him, people who he used to sing with and all that, who did not get party tickets because we set rules and followed them.
You as the Secretary General, I know you are going to find a problem where you have incumbents who will be unlucky and they have not got, are not selected because of different reasons that you've just enumerated. How are you going to handle the aftermath of these elections where many people I would not be willing, the NRM is an example, many are saying, no, we are coming as independents. How are you ready to bring together those interests and perhaps don't end up having two candidates from the same party?
Well, first of all, once you run as an independent, you're no longer in NUP. So there is no situation where you can say that there are two candidates of the same party. They will not be candidates of NUP at that point when they decide to run as independents. They will be running on their own. But what I want to say is that we are encouraging our people. That is one of the reasons why we introduced this idea of harmonization. To tell candidates that, instead of you people losing out completely, you can sit and agree and say that let one person go for this position, another one for the second position, and another one for the third position. That is the reason why we came up with that concept, because we want to keep the party together, we want to maintain cohesion and all that. But I know also that there are those who are hell-bent on one position. There are 4 or 5 people, but ultimately the party has to choose one out of these people. So if the rest of the people decide to come as independents, they will be going against the party constitution, but the constitution of the country does not block them. So we'll encourage them, but we cannot force them not to come.
Doesn't that worry you as the man in charge of these things, that actually it can affect your electability in January?
No, but you see, the point is that the environment under which we operate is well known by the common people out there. Even in the last election, we had many people who went independent, but how many of them went through? Because people understand that we are people power, and if they want to identify truly with NUP and its values, they should go with party candidates. in any case, like I said, we shall try as much as possible to ensure that the candidates who get party flags are those who are on ground. In fact, our system is extremely good because by the time we arrive at a candidate, the teams do not even go there only once in those constituencies. They will go the first time, they will go the second time, they will consult different people, religious leaders, the common people in the markets, the border riders. They will go to the villages, they will go to the towns and get a good picture, a clear picture of who is stronger on ground amongst our candidates.
Yeah, two last things. The last topic. One is about Okchar on that very one. There is a feeling among the people that when you please David Lewis, when you praise the president, Mr. Kyagulanyi, perhaps you are in a better position.
I already gave you examples.
Yeah, I want you to answer this explicitly.
I already told you that in the last election, people were extremely close to the party who had played a significant role in building it. When they were found to be lacking in aspects of ground and others, they did not get the party flags. So that's an answer for you. So that regardless of who you're close to, regardless of what, you cannot get the flag if you do not go and be vetted and get good marks in vetting, and if you're not on ground.
So your message to these people that rest assured that the flag is out there, not
That's
here.
what we've been saying. We've been telling people, everyone who comes to my office, I tell them that the flag of the party is not on my desk. It is not on President Kyagulanyi's desk. It is not on anybody's desk. The flag is on ground and the flag is with you. Because like I said, 40% of the marks you get them through vetting. And the vetting, the reason why I put vetting is to avoid having candidates who do not even understand what they are doing. We want you to go before that committee and prove that you actually know, for example, the roles of the office you're seeking. If you want to be a member of parliament and you don't know what an MP is supposed to do, then why do you want to go to parliament? If you are if you want to be an LC5 chairperson and you do not understand what roles, or if you do not understand the nature of your constituency, the nature of your district, the challenges that affect those people, then you miss out on that.
So we should hold you firmly accountable when at the end of the day, you end up, because in this cycle you are losing how many? 5, 6 MPs. So we should hold you accountable that with all these stringent processes that you are putting, you are having people who at the end of the time are leaving the party. So we should be holding you accountable.
How?
Because then you are putting up a system that you think is airtight, that anyone who goes through this system surely should have.
But I've told you see, that's what I'm telling you, that even when you have elections by lining up, people go independent. You see, lining up means that people do lining up in the broad daylight. Everybody, the presumption is that everybody has seen what has happened, but you see people complaining. So I'm telling you that for us, we'll do our best as a party to ensure that, first of all, our processes are corruption free, that our processes are free of any outside influences and all that, and to ensure that the process we use reflect the will of the people. But those who will not be satisfied have another possibility of making an appeal, so that these results are called upon and we assess what happened and all that and all that.
After that, you are sending your candidates to the National Electoral Commission, where everyone is a player. The NRM that some of these processes you are undertaking are aimed at limiting the influence of the NRM in your processes. But again, you are going to send them in the general election. And you've seen what has just happened in the NRM election. Chiboko, guns, what have you. Are you sure, how confident are you that when you send these candidates of yours can actually compete amidst all these problems we've seen?
The only answer is what we've called the protest vote. The protest vote is not managed here at Kavule. The protest vote is managed in the ghetto somewhere. It's managed at the border stage somewhere. It is managed in the garden somewhere. It is managed in someone's house. It is managed in the church, in the mosque, everywhere. Because the protest vote means the involvement of all citizens. So what we are doing is to call upon the people of Uganda to reject this nonsense that we've seen in the NRM primaries. That's what we are doing. We are telling people that, look, don't expect NUP, the leadership here, because you see what happened in the last election and what has happened in the other elections before then. We know the standard has been that once the leading presidential candidate finishes casting his ballot, is placed under house arrest. That's what happened in the last election. So if our president is under house arrest and the other leaders are under house arrest, how do you expect them to come to Kaberamaido, to Kaperebyong, to Bukedi, to Mbarara, to Arua, to Kampala to manage your protest vote? We want the people of Uganda to be empowered, and we've given them examples. I've been reminding people that the whole idea of protest vote started in Chadondo when our president then, who was running for MP, said that people power is stronger than the people in power, when they blocked him from accessing a playground that he had paid for and booked in advance, and the police came and arrested him and all that, and he said, let's show them the power of the people in the ballot. So that's what we are saying, that the people of Uganda must first of all come out in large numbers. One of the problems that we've been having, the perennial problems that we've been having, is a low voter turnout. People being apathetic, and it has been a clear, deliberate strategy of the regime to discourage people from voting. So what we've been telling people is that if you do not come out to vote, you cease to have a right to complain when things go wrong. And we are telling people that, and I want you to go and do an analysis, and I think the Independent did it at some point. Just go and see those places where Museveni believes he can rig and all that. You'll find...
Actually, I did that story.
Yes.
NRM wins 80-90%.
Yes. You'll find that in those districts, Museveni will give himself 80%. And you'll find that the voter turnout is 80-90%.
Yes.
But in these other areas, you'll find that it's about 45%.
Actually, you go on a polling station and you find 1,500 voters. And you go in Ikruhura and you find 200 voters or 500.
Yeah.
So in all instances, and all of them have the same time frame in which to cast their vote.
Yeah.
In all instances, a person in Ikruhura will go and vote within the time, but 1,500 people cannot vote.
But what we are telling them is, since the law allows that whoever is in the line should stay there until they are counted, even if it means midnight.
Yes.
That's what we are telling our people. You know the saying that if the hunters shoot without missing, the birds must learn to fly without perching. So if we know that the regime has designed the system in that way to ensure that in these areas they make it very, very difficult for all people to come up and vote, you find that a polling station has more than 1,000 people. So we are saying that these people should understand their pain and ensure that they come and stay there. I think all that will come up once people understand the value of their vote, the importance of their vote.
That was actually my last question on the protest vote. But you are struggling to explain what it is, because the word itself has got many meanings that can be interpreted. So in communication, when you want to put out a message, it must be understood the way you want it to be understood.
People understand it.
No, but you are not only targeting your people, they are already your people.
What I am saying, when I talk about our people, I'm talking about the people of Uganda. I'm not talking about Nigerians.
Yes.
No, I'm saying that the people of Uganda understand it. When we say in Uganda, and we've translated this in different languages, when we tell people Kanonye, Kalonde, Kakume, Kabanje, Kalwaniride, people understand what the protest vote is all about. And we've been translating this in all the local languages. Our coordinators are doing that to tell people what the protest vote is all about.
Don't you hear that actually when you say that in Uganda it is more clear than when you say protest vote? When you take the primary meaning of the word protest, it can mean many things, including not turning up at all to vote. Yes.
Protest vote in its proper sense means we are protesting against something through the vote. That's what it means.
But it can also mean that
that's a boycott. That is a boycott. Yes. That's a boycott. It cannot be a protest vote.
Protest and boycott are synonymous.
No, I'm saying that when you call it protest vote, it means we are coming to vote in protest. Okay? We are not, if I said we are protesting against the vote, it would be different. But we are saying it is a protest vote. In other words, when you go to vote, you're protesting against corruption, you're protesting against theft, you're protesting against bad roads, you're protesting against poor healthcare, you're protesting against terrible education, you're protesting against all these wrongs and evils that have happened in our country.
But have you seen NRM people? Of course, that is that is expected of them. But you've seen them interpreting that. Because I saw during these youth elections, you go and the youth boycott and say, you NP said they are boycotting. I mean, they are protesting.
No, Auntie, that's our detractors trying to do that. But like I said, we have been explaining this to the people of Uganda, and I am convinced that our people understand what it means. And when we begin campaigns, hopefully this time the regime will not do what they did in the last election to block us from campaigning. When we start the campaigns, we shall go out there to explain to the people what a protest vote is truly is. And we shall go with our manifesto telling them, you're voting against this and you're voting for this. Yeah.
Okay, the last one. During this time, we see political parties trying to work together. And actually, in the analysis I did, there are 50 constituencies that were lost with only 200, less than 500 votes. Yet the person who, the other candidate who is also from the opposition got maybe 1,000, 3,000, 10,000 votes. And the loser lost on 200 votes. So is there a room? Are you entertaining the idea of working together with other,
Absolutely, absolutely. The only thing that I need to explain to our people is that in Uganda, the word opposition has been bastardized. Just like many other words have been bastardized. The word honorable, the many words that have been bastardized and lost meaning. So, in Uganda, the word opposition, because, for example, you're talking about Norbert Mao. How do you classify him? Is he opposition? Is he NRM? But you're going to say opposition parties and even include DP when they have a cooperation agreement with NRM. So, the word opposition, the question is, if you say opposition unity, who is the opposition? So what I can tell you is that NUP is working day and night to generate consensus with the forces of change which are genuine, the genuine forces of change. We are interested in working with them as much as possible. But I'll also tell you that there are aspects where we may not cooperate. Again, because of how the dictator has designed the law in Uganda. And I've been explaining this to people, that in other countries, including Kenya, you can wake up today, merge with different political parties, register a coalition, go into an election with a coalition with a single symbol. What that would mean would be that NUP, FDC, whatever parties, DP, whatever political parties are there, if they decide to go into a coalition, they will all do joint candidate selection. And then you will have coalition candidates running with one symbol. In Uganda, the law, the way it is crafted, is that there can only be a merger, which means that the different political parties, the constituting political parties, have first of all break and you form one party. The other one they say is an alliance, which means political parties coming together for purpose of an election, but when you go for elections, you use, every party remains with its symbol. So it cannot work. It's one of the tools the regime has used to frustrate cooperation. Because you find that NUP has a candidate for this position, another party has a candidate for the same position, and another. And if you are to put these people in a room to select one candidate, there has to be a joint candidate selection process, which cannot happen in the absence of one single symbol situation.
Yeah, the very final question. There is a feeling among many, the other people outside NUP, and actually also there is that appreciation by some members of your party, that to be opposition, you have to be in NUP. Anybody outside NUP is not an opposition enough.
No, I think you're wrong. You're wrong, but we have said, you see, the idea of people power is not limited to NUP. The idea of people power is for every Ugandan who believes in the power of the people and who believes in a better country, who does not condone corruption and all these other things. So we cannot wake up and say that for you to be opposition, you must be NUP. That's not who we are. That is why I'm sure you've seen us have events here and invite people from different political parties. But we invite political parties or even other groups which are not political parties, like the civil society, academia, business community, etc., who believe in the objectives which we believe in. It's not for you to say I'm opposition when we know you're dining with the oppressor of the people. Because in Uganda, there are two sides. You're either with the oppressor or you're part of the oppressed. So if you're part of the oppressed, even if you are part of the oppressor, even if you come wearing a red beret, we cannot work with you. But if you are part of the oppressed regardless of which party you belong to, and you believe in the ideals, you believe in the power of the people, then you are a comrade and we welcome you.
Thank you very much. Do you have any other message as we head into this election? You have to tell. By the way, you are also contesting in an election.
Well,
so what message do you have for Ugandans, your own voters, but also the voters generally in Uganda?
Well, for the people of Kampala Central in particular, my message to them is that we deserve better. We deserve better. We deserve better. We deserve better representation. We deserve better services. We deserve better healthcare. We deserve better roads. We deserve a fair taxation policy. We deserve fairness in terms of service delivery and all that and all that. But to the people of Uganda out there, we encourage them to vote. Like I said, the message to them is to come out and vote. Come up and support the National Unity Platform, but most importantly, don't stop at supporting. Be a voter. Because we go everywhere in the country and we are being received by thousands and thousands of people. We don't just want supporters, we want voters. We want people to come out and vote. We don't want people who say that voting does not make any difference. It does make a difference if we use it correctly. The regime has its playbook: intimidate, abduct, deploy the military, make the people apathetic. But we must have a counter strategy, and that counter strategy lies in voter turnout. So what I want to say is that I want to encourage the people of Uganda, the elites, the elders. You see, what you find very shocking, really, and the regime has deliberately done this, is that the system has impoverished our people so much, made them so poor. And the same system every 5 years will come with a pack of salt, sugar and soap for you to give them your vote. And that is why they block us from going to radio stations up country, from doing all these things, because they don't want us to give that message to the people out there. So I want to encourage our people to defy all that this time around and vote for change, and we reclaim our country and we set it on a new development agenda.
Thank you very much, Mr. David Lewis, the Secretary General of National Unity Platform.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure having you, sir.